Oh, hi everyone. Oh my gosh, it feels so good to be back with you all. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, Hi, it's been a little while and I am so excited to be back here. If you are just stumbling on this video, hello, I'm Jen Bradshaw Almond, and I'm an astrologer and energy healing coach who help women create lives and businesses that feel good. And if you're joining us right now, or maybe on the replay, just comment below, next side. I don't know which way we are. Everything's mirror image. I am like, it's been so long. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. But let me know you're here or watching on the replay. Again, welcome. This is going to be a weekly show, the Sorcery Show. I am coming out unleashed and ready to rock and roll. For many of you who know me, this is probably a long time coming that I have a show like this. So I'm excited to welcome you here. And really, if you're joining us for the first time, stumbling on here, like I said, I'm Jen Bradshaw Almond, and I'm an astrologer and energy healing coach, and I help women who want to create businesses and lives that feel good. So why am I welcoming you? Why the Sorcery Show? This is it. Welcome to it. It's the Sorcery Show. I don't know how long I'm going to last. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. That's not entirely true. I usually have some curriculum, but welcome to Wednesday's Sorcery Show. And honestly, this is where the real world meets the woo world. It was supposed to be Woo Wednesdays, but a guest sister of mine, that fit her a lot better. So welcome to the Sorcery Show. And it is where the real world meets the woo world, and where you and I discover tools, modalities, practices, and more to help us stay connected to our inner souls more effectively, clearly, and consciously. So I actually was asked, hey, what do you know? And that's kind of a loaded question if you know me. I like to study a lot. So my intention for the Sorcery Show is to share all about the tools I use myself, I use with my clients, I use during my retreats to keep the emotional and mental bodies in alignment and maintain healthy boundaries. So why healthy boundaries, right? Like, why would I focus a show about healthy boundaries or tools like that? Because we need them. And why we need them is because with them, we're able to show up, be heard more truthfully, authentically, and courageously in our workspace, in our service to the world, with our families, with our loved ones. And let's be honest, there's a lot of noise out there that holds us back from doing that. So why not get all the help we can? So welcome to the Sorcery Show. And as you know, as we've been preparing, the topic for today is 5 things about flower essences to gain emotional control. So before we launch into this, you may find me riff a little bit. For those of you that don't know, my family actually sustained a loss of my father-in-law, which was completely unexpected. Pretty much, if you ask me what happened in March, I couldn't tell you. So it was a very quick, traumatic experience in 3 weeks. And so I am back, and it's just kind of everything. As an astrologer, everything is perfect timing. So, why do I share that with you? Well, because I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have been able to hold as much space as I did for my husband's family and each individual, for my mother-in-law, for my father-in-law's sister, and the family that was all remote, and coordinate all of it. It took a lot of energy, and it also took a lot of energy to hold those boundaries and not get consumed, but also work through my own sadness, mourning, and things like that. And of course, we're not done. It's not like it goes away and my father-in-law's passed and we're done. No, it doesn't. Obviously, we still sit with those emotions. But what I have found with working with so many clients, it's the emotional control that we actually need to gain. And it's a practice. It's never, look, spiritual work is never one and done. You're not like enlightened like that and you're good to go. It's a constant practice of tapping in, connecting, and always trying your best to stay aligned. So we're going to talk about these things. And the reason I'm shifting from talking about astrology to flower essences is because I honestly do a lot of speaking engagements about astrology, but it's not the only thing that I use. I actually use in my coaching practice, my number one tool besides like checking in and seeing where people are like cosmically is flower essences. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Lauren. Hi, beauties. So, let's talk more about this. And especially after going through such a very uprooting, traumatic, releasing, emotional 3 weeks, I know that I had peace in my visceral body, my mental body, and my emotional body because of the work that I've personally done with flower essences and that I believe they do for an individual on a regular basis. So what are they? Let's start there, right? So many of us practitioners, and I've been in circle with a lot of brilliant, beautiful women that are using these. A lot of practitioners will go through trying to explain the difference between flower essences and essential oil. So what flower essences are they are literally the essence of any given plant, or you can say crystal too, or gem, or I'll stop there. It can go many things. It's the essence, it's the spirit of that plant or gem or crystal that is actually bottled and then used in medicinal purposes. That's actually why I really would take a stand that classifies them as a plant spirit medicine, because it is the spirit of the plant or the crystal or the rock that is meeting in your emotional body. And if you've heard me talk about the moon, that is a representation of our emotional body, meets our spiritual emotional body. And that is the energetics of healing. That's the medicine, the plant spirit medicine, that is healing the emotional body. And that's why it folds so nicely into astrology. And that's why also I say that the stars give us guidance and the flowers help us to get there. Because a lot of times we can see the opportunities, we think the opportunities, we know the opportunities, all mental body, but yet our own shit, emotional crap, gets in the way, preventing us to actually marry to the possibilities. And with plant spirit medicine and with the flower essences, it helps us to unlock that and get there quicker. So that's what they are. They're literally the essence of a plant or gem, and it's the spirit, and they're used, and why they're seen as plant spirit medicine is because they meet the essence and the spirit of the plant, meets the essence and spirit of you or your moon sign, and that's how they intertwine and healing starts. And there is a ton. So what's the difference between flower essences and essential oils? All right, so I'm going to show you because I love show and tell. So where do I want to go with this? I'm going to use this one, babies. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, so essential oils, right? This is doTERRA. There's a shit ton out there, guys. I know. I'm sorry. I think Caitlin is a Young Living chick, and they're awesome, good too. I just happen to have a lot of doTERRA floating around. So essential oil, right? This is kind of one way that flower essence look. This is Angelica. I love her. She's one of the protection ones. So that is a flower essence. So if I showed these to you, right, you wouldn't really know the difference just by look at it. Like one's in a dropper bottle, one's in like I don't know what this is called, but whatever. So it looks like this. So a lot of times, my other practitioners and I say, oh, I love flower essences. Can I smell them? They do not smell. Essential oils are physical properties that have been, there's a process for it. I could go into it, but given the time, we won't. Are physical properties of the plants, stems, roots, bark, whatever, and they're compressed into oil, steamed or whatever, and created essential oil. So they're like physical properties of the plant, okay? It's an essential oil. Creates the aroma, has healing properties to it as well. I actually got started as an aromatherapist. So yeah, I can see how they're similar. These essential flower essences, so I don't get confused, flower essences, again, what I said to you is that this is the energetics, the spirit of the plant that is bottled. So then that brings us to how these are made. Honestly, the process is really simple. It all lies in intention and understanding. But I'm going to share with you the process to bottling and creating this involves feeling called to a particular tree, plant, rock, element, we'll say that, and sitting with it and actually noticing, like at a micro spectral level, of what's going on with that plant. So I can actually tell you about my own experience of making flower essences. I'll tell you about my very first experience about making flower essence. It was in Bali. I know, it was really trippy. It was crazy. So what you do is it's literally the physical part of the that's in this bottle. As you can see, there's liquid in it. The physical aspect of it is literally water and brandy. The brandy is there to serve as a component to keep the energetics stable and longevity, because of water would obviously go stale. So it's water and brandy. Sometimes it can also be apples. I think some people use vinegar. And to me, unless you have some real issues, which I have, I've worked with alcoholics that cannot take the brandy or don't want to, we use the vinegar aspect of it to keep the properties of the energetics in the bottle of that particular plant. So really, that's all the physical part of it is water and brandy. Now, the process of how they're made. So going back to my very first time making a flower essence was in Bali, not in Virginia, of all places, a very sacred place. It's kind of cool thinking about it then. But it required me just putting a bowl of water, communing, like actually attuning and talking to the plant. And it seems really crazy, but not crazy, because in energetics, everything has life, right? There's a part of Taoism and animism that has this. So if you listen and if you slow down and if you are intentful and have attention, you can gather a lot of information from a living plant. That's why some people are really great with plants and some people are not so great with plants. Is that ability to attention. And so you have a bowl of water and you take and ask permission from that plant to place it in the water. You don't have to, but it's great. And then you actually sit and journey and attune, what we call attune to the plant. So you're noticing the things that are going around it. You're noticing everything that's happening while you're in that sacred space with that plant. And all of that is an energy, right? Because it's all happening, it's all moving. And that which you're noticing and attuning becomes the medicine and how you deduct as to what is going into this particular plant spirit medicine that you're making. So then there's ways to know when it's done or complete, and you bottle it. And it's really that simple. And that was the first thing that I ever made in Bali. My first flower essence that I ever made in Bali was frangipani, which is lang lang, which is hilarious because I actually have lang lang essential oil right here, ironic. But that's the first one I made. And similarly to the essential oil as to what it brings, and we're learning more that essential oils also have emotional components to it, again, because they're made from plants. But the frangipani flower essence that I made was a very light, lightning body, very childlike. And I actually gave it to, she's a naturopath in Washington. And, you know, she was just so consumed with a lot of work, a lot of creation, a lot of growth. And it helped her kind of get out of the mucky muck of the do and actually find a lighter way to play with it. I still actually have it. And you have used it in the past. I usually test for it. So that's how they are made. So let's talk about, so we've talked about what they are, what classifies them as plant spirit medicine, how they're made, and we've talked about the difference of flower essences versus essential oils. There is no scent, there is no aroma to flower essence. I will say, if you talk to some of my flower essence sisters, that I have actually traveled on pilgrimage to Mount Shasta. When we have been creating flower essences, when we take them, like ingest them, because you do ingest them. This is usually it just depends on your practitioner and how they formulate it for you or how you're taking it. Usually it's a couple drops under the tongue, so many times a day, so at certain points of the day. But when we were making them in Mount Shasta, it was really cool. We went every day. I think some of us were making either 1 to 2 a day over like a 5 to 7 day period. So we'd be trying all these different formulas, all these different essences. And so like sometimes we'd sleep really well and sometimes we wouldn't because of what was going on energetically. Now, not to mention that Mount Shasta is a wonderful vortex of itself, but you can start to unravel that energetic, emotional body very quickly. And it really helps. And you know what? Here's the thing. This is one thing that I actually love about flower essences as far as healing goes and releasing, working through emotional trauma. It's not talk therapy. You don't need to know the why. You don't need to know the how. It happens at a subtle level to break down from an actual medicinal healing perspective. You almost don't even need to know how or why it's good, because you need to be aware of what your practitioner is giving to you, what you're trying to evolve, transmute, heal, so you can see that. But like for example, I've often given this in the past to my husband. Like if we're traveling, one of my favorites is Travel Ease, and that's by Delta Gardens, especially during Mercury retrograde, which I know we're in right now. But I'll give it to my husband and he'll be like, oh, this doesn't work. Yeah, because he's not taking the time to attune or see what's transpiring for him when he's traveling, taking Travel Ease. But I can see and notice that he can relax and he's not strung up and he's not worried about going through security, or if he gets stopped by security, he's just like, okay, he doesn't see that. I don't have to tell him, but I notice it. And that's what Travel Ease does, especially during Mercury retrograde, like right now, guys. It's a great essence, and it's just a mixture that Delta Gardens has. I love it. When I was traveling so much a couple of years ago, it was definitely don't leave home without it. So that's kind of how they work. There's just the subtle aspects to their healing properties where really we're seeing a lot more therapists use it because, talk therapy makes you go back into your head, makes you think about all the shit, all the feelings get stirred up. And sometimes it's really hard to shake that stuff, and we just keep in that mental spin. But with emotional, when you take flower essences and helping with the therapy aspect, the talk part, as well as the emotional, then you're really, really, like, why they call releasing, you're really getting it out. And you're like, okay, like I get to see it, right? And you're with your practitioner, you're usually seeing, you're made aware during the different changes and shifts and things that you go through. I use them for lots of things, not just emotional trauma, but manifesting and ritual. And actually at our retreat in May, which you can learn more at that link that I put above, in our retreat in May, we'll be doing a journeying, and it's really more about empowerment and setting some really amazing goals, realigning to them for the rest of the year, because, hey, spring sprung. So I like to use them in that way, in a special circle too, where we're collectively taking them. So what's another way to help with gain emotional control? And I mentioned boundaries, healthy boundaries. And so I showed you Angelica, and another one that I have sitting here is Rue. She's actually one of my favorites. Rue and Yarrow. And this is Yarrow. I actually have Yarrow here. This is Alaskan Essences. Rue and Yarrow and Angelica come in Delta Gardens protection. But so why protection? Because if you believe that you're like a biological being, right? You're not a machine. You don't have metal in you. You have organs and plasma and blood and living, breathing things. So there's these continuing shifts in physical properties as well as emotional that kind of make us into this very soulful thing. And then we were talking about all that noise on a daily basis that you go through. Why protection essences happen is because if for some reason your energetic body has, I want to just describe them as kind of like holes or places that need healing or support, right? Then, you may not, even if you're trying mentally, I will not get in a fight. I will not get in a fight with my in-laws, or I will not get mad at my sister or my brother. You're trying mentally to hold that space or that place so that you feel safe, secure, and loved, because you might energetically have a hole that needs healing or a leak or an energetic leak. The protection or the energetic protection is so important. And, there's so many ways, and I'm sure in one of my shows I'll go about this. And we talk about this definitely in my retreats. We definitely set energetic boundaries and protections before we open up the retreats. Is that you don't have to do it all yourself. Like we hear that we don't have to do it by ourselves. Do we really know that? So with flower essences as a protection, energetic protection support, Angelica, rue, yarrow are some of my favorite. Garlic is another one that a lot of my clients use to keep like energetic boundaries. And so like whatever is yours, whatever emotionally, energetically you're going through is yours, can stay in-house. And if there's a situation, like, a passing, we'll use that as an example of their own stuff coming out or being evolved, then that protection essence is helping you maintain your boundaries as well as helping them maintain theirs, because there's this auric balance or auric boundary field. So that's energetic protection and how they're used. And actually Delta Gardens makes a very specific box. Alaskan Essence, like I said. So this is Angelica from Delta Gardens. It has a nice little picture. This is yarrow from Alaskan Essences. They're different, but same. It's kind of like what they say in Bali, sama. same. So, you can buy them as a kit or you can buy them individually. It doesn't really matter, and usually in those websites. So some of my all-time faves, like I've talked about, are the protection essences. It's like a go-to. I'm always telling people if they're going to get started with them, look into a couple protection essences, because more than likely, most of us need help with our own boundaries, because one or two things could be happening for you as you discover this next level of energy support. Is you're pushing yourself out and you're getting drained, or someone's pushing back on you and you're getting drained. So I usually start people in that regards, or there's been trauma, like on a worst case scenario, there's been super trauma and there's insecurities and just fear. So the protection essences is kind of like, okay, let's stop all of this and let's just kind of hold you where you're at and figure it out from there. So protection essences is an all-time fave. When people aren't working with me, that's like the first thing that I tell them to go to. As far as other all-time faves, so you guys know I love astrology. You guys know I talk about the moon all the time. I hold workshops. So their making moonlight essences are awesome. So this one is actually a Delta Garden moonlight essence, and it's called Prayer. I don't know what's used for. I usually look it up. Nowadays, I just test for them. And you notice that this is actually in a blue bottle. I want to bring that up. It's a blue bottle. This one's brown. Sometimes when I'm doing personal formulas, and if you're curious about personal formulas, you can just click my link and we can chat about it up above. Sometimes when I'm doing personal formulas, I'll do the regular stock bottle of the brown one or the blue one. I have some fellow practitioners that have green. Super cool. Blue, more mystical. Mysticism in that regards. Like I said, this blue one happened to be out of the moonlight box. Some of my favorites that I do use, since I've tried to say that to you a couple times, is golden amaranthus. That's one of my manifestations. One, Lovage is another one that I love. I use her in a lot of my retreats. And so after we've done the journey, we bring everything, like we don't want to be all the way out there. We need to come back in. I've actually used them on other people's retreats that aren't using flower essences so that I can keep going forward and be more present in circle when I'm a participant. So Lovage is another one. Golden Amaranthus, Lovage. And my protection ones, like that's like, don't leave home without them, as well as Travel-Ease, consistent all the time. Oh, and another one I usually use is a clearing essence every night, because I do energy work every day. So I just want to make sure that at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, that I have called everything back for me and released all of what isn't mine so that I can just kind of keep going. And honestly, you guys, without this particular practice and without using these, I feel grounded. I'm able to show up here. I'm able to talk about the tragedy and traumatic passing of my father-in-law. You know, I watch my family kind of still working through it in their own time and space, but yet I know from past experiences, and if you know my story, that this isn't like my first rodeo when it comes to loved ones passing, and I've had to care for 3 other people in my family, my father, my grandmother, and my mother, at a very intimate level. So I'm pretty sure that had I not been able or been using and working with, for myself and with others, flower essences, and I wasn't when my mom passed or my grandmother, I was with my father. If I hadn't had that experience, then I wouldn't know or wouldn't have been able to feel at peace, like really feel at peace in the passing of my father-in-law. It's still really sad. We have flowers all over the house. We have this prayer card in those flowers. I don't feel like that's going to go away. It's healing for both myself and my husband. But it's not like I'm a weeping, huge emotional wreck. You know, I still have a purpose and a passion and a desire to show up for all of my clients and all of you who are also needing help and support in the emotional realm to gain emotional control. And so I truly believe that. So that is today's sorcery show. We talk about deep stuff, but it's like sacred science, and I love it. And it's fun for me, as you can tell. So we've talked about what flower essences are, their spirit of the plant. What classifies them as plant spirit medicine is because that essence and spirit of the plant is meeting the essence of you and creating some healing there. We talked about how they were made, and we've talked about the difference between flower essences versus essential oils, where there is some overlap, especially I think only maybe 2 years ago, doTERRA came out with their emotional line, the emotional blend line. There is some overlap because, again, they're still using flowers. And I've told you about some of my all-time faves, which are definitely protection essences, Golden Amaranthus, Lovage, and Travel-Ease by Delta Garden. The other 4 you can get. Alaskan Essences is another good one. Oh, it escapes me. If I think about it, I'll plug it in there. So as we say goodbye until next week, the activity, the alchemical activity that I'm going to leave with you, and I would love for you to comment below, tag me once you figure it out, is let me know a flower you really love or that has always been around you. And I will share with you what that meaning is and in the comments below. So I'll be looking, but that is my alchemic activity for you to end the sorcery show on. And if you have any questions, want to know how they can be personalized for you or the retreats, up above is a link. You just click on that, opt in. You get a free little fun workshop that I did during March about how to get your groove back in the business. And then, you know, you can always reach out to me. So until next week, you guys, mwah, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you really soon. Bye.